So the thing I want to take a look at today is the really, really powerful DevTools panel of the browser. So every single browser, whether it's Chrome or Firefox or Edge or Brave or whatever the browser, it has this special panel that you open up, and it contains the tools for the web developers to work with the website or the web application. And this is honestly where we spend most of our times as front-end developers. So when we're working with websites and we're developing websites and web applications, we open up the DevTools and we spend most of our times in there. There are like a couple of ways that you can open up the DevTools in Chrome and Chromium-based browsers like Brave. And I think in most other browsers, there's a very quick shortcut to open the DevTools, which is F12. So if you press F12 on the keyboard, you will see the DevTools panel open up. Another way that I see a lot of people doing is that you can click on some part of the page, and then you can right-click with the mouse and then select Inspect. So that's when you want to inspect something that you see on the screen and see how it looks like in the form of code. So if I want to inspect this element, I will right-click and select Inspect. And this will automatically open up the DevTools in the Elements panel where we see the HTML code. And we see exactly the part of the code that corresponds to the thing that I just highlighted on the page. So two ways, F12 and right-click and inspect element. Now, one tip that I will give you is that when you're developing a web application or a website or a web page, and especially when you're working with JavaScript, we still haven't covered JavaScript, but we'll be going through next week, you should always have this panel open in order to see what's happening while you're using the app. So usually when we're developing, we have the DevTools panel open constantly, and we constantly check to see what's happening. It provides a lot of useful information about what's happening while we're interacting with the page, and especially with JavaScript, we can see some of the errors that might be thrown or happen while we're using the app, and be able to catch the bugs that otherwise would go unnoticed. So one tip I can give you is when you're developing, have the DevTools panel open at all times. First, I want to show you a couple of options that you can use to make the DevTools panel a little bit easier to work with. So you will see, first of all, that when I open up the DevTools, it takes up quite a lot of space. Of course, I can like drag it up and down, but it takes up a lot of space, and it leaves like a small part of the screen for me like to check. One of the things that I can do is to go here on the right on these three dots, which is the way that I can customize and control the DevTools. And I can select a different layout for the DevTools. For example, if I want to see more of my main screen, I can move the DevTools either to the right, so I see more of the page. I see like the more of the content here. I can also move it to the left. Either way, you get a little bit more height on your page. You can switch back to the bottom. And something that I see a lot of people use, especially when you have two monitors, you can undock the DevTools, so you can pick the first option, which is going to pop up the DevTools as like an external window. So you can move it around, and if you have like a second screen, you can move it to the other screen. Now I'm moving this to the other screen, so you can see the page in one monitor, and then you can see the DevTools on another monitor, or you can just move around and maybe play around with the height. Usually, what I prefer to do is to have the DevTools open on the right side at all times, and then just make this its width like a little bit wider or less. And just move around. So this is kind of my preferred, let's say, way of working with the DevTools. And if I want to, let's say, for a minute, check the full screen content, I just press F12. I take a quick look, and then just press F12 and it opens up. So that's kind of like that, what has been working for me so far. Um, Another option that I really like is that if you open the DevTools for the first time in your browser, I think it will open up in the light mode. You can see here that my DevTools is now in dark mode. So one of the things that you want to do, because I find it also very much better to work with a dark mode in general, is you can go here to the settings. That's the cog icon here. And if you go to the preferences, under the appearance sections, the theme is set to auto, or you can switch to the light mode or to the dark mode. So light and dark, that's the switch that you can make. The auto is kind of like a new feature. Basically, if your operating system, if your computer is set up to have a dark or a light mode in general, so not just the browser or the DevTools, but your computer is set up to work with a dark mode, it will pick up the setting from your computer. In my case, I always have the dark mode on my Mac, so it picks up the dark mode from the system and then selects the dark mode. If I were to go to my system settings and switch to light mode, the auto would pick up the light mode. Of course, if you want to, if you're using a light mode on your system and you want to have like a dark mode on the DevTools, you will go and pick explicitly the dark mode, or the other way around. Have dark mode in your system and light mode in your DevTools. So that's a really nice feature that makes it a little bit, I don't know, easier for, at least in my case, for my eyes to work with this panel. I will move it at the bottom so that I can show you some of the panels here. So this is like a huge topic. The DevTools is full of tools, full of panels, as you can see here, full of information. It provides all sorts of details. It could take, I would say, a single course just to go through every single detail. Fortunately for us, we don't have to know every single detail. As we go through, we learn more and more, and we make use of the different features. But it's important to remember that there's a lot to learn. So today, I want to focus just on this Elements panel, the tab that you see here, which is concerned with the HTML of the page, the HTML code, and the CSS. Quickly, there are other panels here. The console is mainly for working with JavaScript. So in here, you can run some JavaScript, like you can run a JavaScript command to add two numbers, but we tend to see the errors that pop up from time to time in here. So the console is mostly about JavaScript. So at this point, there's no need to go through this. Quickly, the network is about all the network requests, all the requests that the browser makes to a remote server to pick up the HTML, to download the HTML, the CSS files, the images from the remote server. So for example, for this page, if I refresh, you will see that there's all sorts of like resources and files that are downloaded in order for the browser to display this page. We can see some CSS files in here. We can see, I can also like switch to filter just the CSS. So two CSS files are loaded. Let me switch back to all to see all the files that were downloaded. We can see HTML files. We can see like JPEG images. We can see some GIF images. We can see some fonts and some JavaScript. So this is another session. And the rest of the panels are about, the sources are about all these files that are downloaded. We get to see more details about the files that are downloaded. The performance is about the performance of our application. Memory is about memory profiling and how much memory our application, mainly our JavaScript, is consuming. And security is about how secure this website is. As you can see, this is pretty secure. Everything is green. We use the secure protocol, HTTPS. And we have other tabs that I'm just going to skip for now because there's already a lot of information on this tab. So let me switch to the right side now and have this take up a lot more space for now. When you open up the Elements panel, you will see the something that looks like the code that you written. So you write your HTML, and then if you open up the Elements panel, and as you can see, it's really nice because you can fold and unfold like the intended sections, the nested elements, so you can like just open up and see parts of the code. Basically, this is where you see something that looks close to your actual source code. I have to note here that this is not a one-to-one. This doesn't produce a one-to-one correspondence with your source code. This is the dynamic, let's say, view of the page, let's say, structure, the HTML. What's the difference here? So when you write your code, you write some HTML, some CSS, and most of the times we write some JavaScript code. That's something that you save in your file, you upload it on your server, you point your browser to your web page, it downloads this static file, this source code, and it runs the browser, parses through this code and runs some instructions based on your code and displays what you see on the left side. But at the same time, the code that is running in the page is also affecting the structure itself. So you can have code that says when the page loads, even though there's no, let's say, H1 element, I want you to dynamically to run some JavaScript, for example, and display a new element that was not there on the source code. That's the power of JavaScript. You have a code that creates HTML while the page is running. So that's an important distinction. This is what we call the dynamic part of the page, something that gets created, that gets constructed when the code is running while you open up your page in your web browser. So the thing that you see in here is not always the exact same thing that you will see in when you open up VS Code and you see like your source code, because when the browser runs this code, it generates some elements or some parts of the page here that were not part of your source code. But you get a very, very close correspondence with your source code. But it's important to keep this distinction in mind. And it's actually really useful because when we load and we see the page and we try to gather some information from the DevTools, we want to check not the original source code, but the code, the dynamic code that is actually producing what we see on the left side. So that's why we see this dynamic, let's say, version of the code that was generated once the browser went through all the source code. You will see that I can even see the comments that are left in my source code. So somewhere in my HTML, I have these comments. These are HTML comments, and I can see them right here. If you want to see exactly the source code that you wrote in your VS Code, exactly the source code that was downloaded from the server before the browser started to run the code and dynamically, let's say, populate the page and generate some dynamic content, you can either go to View here and select, sorry, let me see, Chrome. Sorry, I just, okay, I think they moved it. Okay, we go to View, under the Developer menu item, there's a View Source. So this is the command that you want to run to actually see, open up the source code in another tab in your browser. This is the command that you can use to see exactly the source code that the developer used or wrote and saved and uploaded on the server. So if you're on any website and you want to see exactly what the code looked like when the developer clicked saved, on their VS Code or on the code editor and uploaded the file on the web server, you can check the view source. Let me check. So this is exactly what I wrote, let's say, in my code editor when I created this page, or whoever created. This is a static file. This is a file that I saved and I uploaded on this web server. Once the browser downloads this source code, when we go to this address, it starts running the commands that it sees inside this source code, and then some of the parts of the code will dynamically generate extra things in your page. So probably you will have, let me give you an example. Let's say that the user wants to see this page in the dark mode or in a not exactly a light mode. Let me see what's going on in here. In a lighter mode. So as you can guess, there are two versions of the page, a kind of like light mode and a dark mode. But we cannot really download two pages, right? So the browser will go to a web address, download one source code, and display something. So in this case, the source code contains the code that lets the user pick and dynamically display a version of the page, whether it's light or dark mode. So this is an example of a dynamic part. This is something that gets enabled, gets executed, and changes the display of the page after the source code was downloaded. And you can see here, which is why we use the DevTools, is that when I click this button, there is a slight bug in here. The structure of the page will dynamically change. It will not download the new page. It will not download the new code. But the JavaScript that is running when I click this button is actually changing parts of the DOM, as we call it, the HTML. So if I click this here, pay attention to what happens in this body tag. You will see there is a new class added. And this happens dynamically inside the browser. The browser doesn't download any new HTML code. There's some program in here written in JavaScript that adds or removes a particular class. And these things, these dynamic processes, this JavaScript code that changes part of the page, can be seen in the DevTools through this nice highlighting mode. So you can see there's a flashing, and the part of the page that dynamically changes is highlighted, and I can see that, hey, something is happening here. Some part of the code is actually changing this guy over here. And if I unfold, maybe other parts of the page are changed. At this point, I think the only thing that changes is this class. So that's the distinction between the source code and the dynamic version of the code and the page once it gets downloaded on the browser, and we actually get to see this through the lens of the DevTools. So keep in mind that when you see this flashing here, it means that some code is dynamically is actually running and changing things in the page. Something, let me find another example that you can see this flashing work in other dynamic content. So I will search for an image carousel, and you will see this maybe in a more. So an image carousel is when we have this web widget that we use to see different images. So this is like the image carousel pattern. As you can tell, the source code was downloaded. We were looking at. Let me refresh. We were looking at a particular image, and then dynamically through some JavaScript, when we click this button, the image in the carousel changes from this nice-looking cake to another, let's say, dessert. So this is another example of a dynamic code. Some source code was downloaded. Some JavaScript run was executed when the browser started parsing the HTML and the JavaScript, and now something dynamically changes. Now, if I open up the F12, the DevTools, and I will just I will open up the page code a little bit to see a little bit more of the, let's say, of the code here, and I will click the buttons here. Okay, let me open up some more parts here. Nothing. Let me see. As I go through this code, you will see that the DevTools highlights the element that is created by the specific code that I'm hovering over on the left. So every single element that I hover over it gets highlighted also on the left side. So it shows me that this HTML is rendering this thing that you see on the left. So let me open up this slider part of the page and see whether we get some highlighting, some flashing. So let me go here. Okay, so pay close attention to this part here as I scroll. So you can see there's some flashing, and there's some HTML here that dynamically gets changed, gets modified, so that we show a different image. And if I open this up, I will probably see more things flashing. As you can see, a lot of things start changing just to switch from one image to another. So that's a nice overview, this nice visual indicator from the DevTools showing you the parts of the page that dynamically get updated while you're most of the times while you're interacting with the page. So usually this happens when you press a button, when you submit a form, when you try to input something in a form. So whenever there is interaction from the user, these dynamic changes happen on the page. Another reason why you will see this kind of behavior, this flashing on the elements panel, is when you have a script that occasionally updates the content of the page dynamically. For example, when you see the news, so you go on a news page, it loads the last, let's say, the latest 10 news, and then they have this script that every, let's say, 5 minutes loads some extra news, something that happened a few minutes ago, and it dynamically changes the content of the page. So if there's something an event happening or something that just came in, there's a code that loads, let's say, and dynamically displays an extra part in the page that says, US election, flash, what's happening, which means this doesn't always happen upon the user interaction. There are some scripts that run automatically. A new site might check whether there are some new articles or some new events every 5 minutes, every 1 minute or so. So that's another example of how we can see this flashing mechanism indicate the dynamic parts of the page. Now, upon walking you through these tools, I highly recommend that you open up a couple of pages on your browser and checking and testing all these features, all these tools with 3 or 4 or 5 pages. So see what happens while you use these tools with your favorite web pages or some random website to see different things. So try these things out in 2 or more pages just to compare and see the overall behavior across different page structures. Now, this is the dynamic, let's say, version of the HTML code. It's pretty cool because you can fold and unfold, so you can have this screen show just the part of the code that you're interested. And there's some really cool things that you can do with DevTools. One of the things that you can do is that let me open up, let's say, okay. So one of the things that you can do is that you can arbitrarily delete elements from the web page, and I will put an asterisk in the delete. So let's say I have this theme toggler right here. You can see it gets highlighted, and you can see that this div, which of course contains more elements, I just these divs gets highlighted on the left, and this is the theme toggler. So the browser says, or rather, the DevTools, that what you're highlighting on the right side is generating this thing on the left on the page. And underneath this highlighted area, you will see that often, or I think most of the times, you will see the dimension, the exact precise dimension of this element on the web page in the form of pixels. So the screen is made up of tiny, elements called pixels, short for picture elements. And you will see here the dimension of this element as it gets rendered on the page. So this is 45 pixels wide and 25 pixels in height. If I highlight, let's say, the label, it's still the same. If I highlight, let's say, let me go to something. If I highlight the nav on the left, then as you can see, there is a bug. There's some text on top of other text. This is 182 point something pixels wide. That's irrelevant, by 332 pixels in height. So the width and the height is already in there through the DevTools, which is really important because most of the times you really want to pay attention to how big and how wide or long the elements are on a page, so you can modify the height or the width and make them smaller or fit within another element. So that's a really cool information that you get by default when you hover over an element. And a really cool thing that you can do in any page is that you can, if you click on the element, and you can see if I move the cursor, the element that I clicked is kind of like highlighted here on the DevTools. There's this gray line. We can see these three dots here, and we can see this strange looking equal $0. We will take a look at what this means when we go to JavaScript. For now, it's just a helper for working with JavaScript. So if I click an element, I can select it inside the DevTools, and you will see that it also gets highlighted when I have it selected using this gray line. So if I want to see, if I want to get rid of an element temporarily, or I want to see how the page would look like without this element, you can just select an element and press delete on your keyboard, or you can select right click and go to the delete element. The delete button, of course, is much faster. And as you can see here, just by deleting the nav thing on the left, shows me a much nicer view of the page. You can see there's no this text of the navigation on top of the title. So this helps me see, like, get a preview of how the web page would look like if I didn't have this navigation on top of the title, and even if I had the toggler like removed. So you can select any element on any page. So let me go to I don't know, even Google here. So let me select the logo, and then I can press delete, and it's gone. Okay, so this is available on any page. Of course, the important thing is to remember that what you just did is just a temporary change that you see only on your browser and for this session, like while you have this page running displayed on your browser. You don't change anything on the source code or on the server. This is you didn't just delete the source code of the original source code. You just dynamically deleted a part inside the DevTools. If you refresh the page, you will see that both of these elements come up again. So this is not a destructive operation. You just there will be there when you reload. But if you want to play around and see how your page will look like if you remove an element, you can just delete And the cool thing about the DevTools is that you also have an undo operation. So if you accidentally deleted an element or you want to go back to how it looked like before without reloading the page, you can press Control Z on your keyboard, which is the default shortcut for undo, or you can go to Edit, I believe Undo. No, this doesn't work because that's about the browser. But in here, if I press Control, or in my case, Command Z on my Mac, it comes back. So there's a history of changes, and as you delete things, you can also undo these things. So if I delete these two elements, all the content is gone. But if I press Control Z or Command Z twice, they will be back again on my screen. So really cool, really useful, because sometimes you will be deleting, and then you just want to go 2 steps back or 1 step back. You just don't want to refresh. Uh, it was just the last step that you want to undo, not the whole thing. So that's Control Z or Command Z. It's a universal shortcut for undoing things in almost all applications. In here, I'm not sure whether there's a menu for like undo. So just keep the shortcut Control Z. Now select, delete, and then that's something that you can do. Let me pick up now an element which is a little bit easier to to work with. So you can either traverse, as we say, the source code here, not just the source code, the dynamic code, by opening up these divs or these elements, and then trying to find the element that you want to uh, manipulate or check or delete. So you can open up and scroll through, hover over these elements until you find the thing that's of interest to you. For example, I want to find this part of the page in here. So I have to open up, look around, try to find, okay, go here, open, oops, there it is. So that's one way that you can generally find your way through the DOM. Okay, this thing right here, it's called the DOM, short for Document Object Model. So it's kind of like a tree-like structure for your page, for your HTML code. So if you hear about DOM, it's just this technical term for this thing. That can be tedious or sometimes hard because you don't know where something is really hidden or nested inside this code. The easiest way that you can pick up an element and open it up in your DevTools, it's by selecting or hovering over in the page and right-clicking Inspect. So if I right-click and inspect, it will get me to this element. And also, as you see, it didn't pick the H1. It went just right inside the H1, which contains a link, an anchor tag. So right-click and inspect element for quickly accessing or finding the element of interest in your DevTools. And the other cool thing is that you have this icon here, the inspector. So you can select it. It becomes, as you can see, there's a blue kind of like highlighted color when you have it selected. When you unselect it, it's gray. So you select it first, and then you go in here, and you can see as I hover around, it shows me more information about the elements of interest. And I can find, for example, this element, click on it, and it will open up, it will highlight the code on the right, the part of the DOM that displays this thing. So click the inspector, hover over here, and then you will see the element picked on the right side inside the elements panel. So that's another easy way to highlight and find the thing that is of interest to you, and find it in the elements panel here. Remember that the behavior of the browser is different when you have this selected. So if I move my mouse now, nothing happens, right? But if I have this selected, it's kind of like turns on this inspection mechanism. So in order to go back to like the normal behavior, I either have to select an element, or I'll have to go back here and unselect the inspector. Okay, because maybe you wanted first to you thought of selecting an element, but then you change your mind, so you just want to go back to the mode, to the default browser behavior, which is to click elements and do things. Because if I'm in normal mode, my mouse works as expected. It clicks the buttons and it interacts with the page and switches from light to dark mode. But if I have the inspector enabled, this will not work as a button. This will select this element and open it up in the panel on the right. So now there's a different behavior for my mouse click, okay? And it just throws me here. Now it's disabled once again, so I can now just use the mouse click as a normal clicking, let's say, or button clicking mechanism. And of course, once you're here, you can do things like delete the element or whatever you want. So let me select something that's here. As you can see, while you're in inspection mode, you not only get this highlight thing over the element that you're hovering over, but when you stop and you hover over a particular element, there's actually more information about that particular element than when you go here. So when I hover here over the element on the DevTools, on the Elements panel, I just see the width and height. But when I use the inspector and I hover over, I get to see the width and the height, the color. So, okay, I cannot move my mouse, but you can see underneath, you can test it later. You can see the color, you can see the font, and you can see some really useful accessibility information. Now, I cannot like move my mouse, but the important thing to note here is that there's a section that says contrast, and it has a green check mark on the right side. And there's another section. This is small. I'm not sure whether you can see it, but when you test it, you will see there are some sections underneath the accessibility that are checkmarked with a green icon. That means that in terms of accessibility, this is a nice thing. This is good. Like people that are viewing this web page and have like some like visual impairment or have some kind of disability will be able to see and read this text, so they won't have a problem to access and actually read the content. So this is a good thing. And also, of course, this means that from time to time you will find some elements that will be, hopefully I won't find one, but they will be red. So sometimes you'll find something that went wrong, and your accessibility sections will not be checkmarked with this green check. They will be red, so there's going to be a problem. So the inspection tool is really powerful because it highlights the elements and also give you some quick overview, some quick feedback about the element that you have, like not quite selected, but you are just hovering over. So let me go now to this. I will click, and you will see that the inspection will turn from blue to gray. Now it's back to disabled, but I can see that it has automatically selected the code that is rendering, that is displaying or generating this part of the page. Okay, now when you have an element selected, you will see that apart from like the main tabs here and the main like elements panel that is opening here, there is another smaller sub area of the DevTools that contains a lot of other tabs. So as you can see, the DevTools is packed with so many features, so many panels, and so many things. The thing that I want to focus at this point for today is the Styles tab. There are more things that you can actually see and find all sorts of like information about the page. The thing I want to focus is the styles. So the styles is a panel that gives you all the information that you need to know about the styling of a particular element. So when you select an element here, the styles panel will change to reflect the styles that are affecting or that have been applied on that particular element. So let me pick once again the title here. Now there's a lot of information here. So don't worry, this is like a page which is full of CSS and full of code. Perhaps I would have like opened up let me try to find another page. I'm not sure how I can, the simplest web page on the internet. Let me see if I can find something like, yeah, I don't know. Let's go. Okay, it looks a little bit, I don't know, simpler. Yeah, yeah. Okay, as you can see, it's not packed with so many. Okay, there's something wrong in here. There's some. Okay, but at least we can see a simpler thing here on the styles panel. So when I select, for example, okay, this is totally wrong. So, but okay, the code in here is like completely wrong. Is invalid HTML code, but I will disregard this for now. For example, there's an HTML tag at the top, and then there's this typo here. There's another tag, HTML. So this is obviously a mistake here. But anyway, I pick this element for now, and I see a much clearer output here on the styles. Now, when you click on an element, you will see in the styles panel, you will see this section. Usually it's at the bottom. There are more things here. And when you scroll down, you will see these sections that are named user agent style sheet. So for this H1, there's these two style sheet like sections. If I go back to the WDX page, I have to scroll down here to find the user agent style sheet section for this element. And probably if I scroll down even more, I will find more of these sections. So these are of particular interest to us, these user agent style sheet sections of the styles. Let me go back to the simpler web page, because this when we talk about the user agent, we're talking about the browser. Okay, user agent, aka the browser. So browser style sheet means that these styles were applied by the browser itself. There was no developer that said that this H1 should have these CSS properties. These are the default browser styling. Every browser, whenever you create an H1, it doesn't just add a simple text. It gives your text, your H1, some height. You can see the H1 is bigger, much bigger than the paragraph. And the font type is bold. So the font weight bold here, the font size, and some other CSS properties, some margin, for example, some spaces around, is the default user agent or browser style sheet, because we want the headings to be able to be easily distinguishable from other parts of the page, such as the paragraphs or the text. So user agent style sheet is the default styling that every browser gives on almost all of the basic elements. This is something that you cannot really like delete. You cannot change the default behavior of the browser. But what you can do is you can override. So you can say that I want the H1 not to be of font size 2 EMs, and I don't want the font weight to be bold. So you will go to your code, let's say to your web page, and then let's say that you have access to this, of course, to this web page. And if you have like a heading, You know that if you open this up in the browser, it will have font size 2 EMs, and then it will be font size bold. That's the default style sheet. If you want to override, you'll have to either load the CSS file or add a style here that says, hey, I don't want the default style sheet. I want the font size to be, let's say, 4 REMs or EMs. There are many units. And I want the font type to be, I think that's thin. There's a thin. I'm not sure. No, small. Font type. Unknown property. That was style. Okay, font weight. That's font weight. You can see the editor helps me, and I think it's thin. Yep. So, okay, the default styling is this, but I can override it. Now, before going into your code and actually changing things and saving and reloading and seeing how the page would look like, and it's something that's, let's say, a little bit time consuming, editing, saving, reloading, and stuff like that. What the DevTools allow you to do is to test all these things right through the DevTools without touching your code. So if I want to override the H1, I select the H1 here, and there's this element style here, which basically allows me to put any CSS properties that I want to test for this particular element on the page. Not every H1 in the page, but this particular selected element. So I can right click here, and I can start typing the CSS property, so font size, and then press tab to move to the value. So, and now I can see all the available options. So let me go to, okay, extra large, I don't know. Okay, I will just type or let me use the EM. So I'm switching to a different font size, and I'm also changing the font weight to, I think, is there a thin? No, there's a lighter. Okay, so lighter, you can either use one of the available words or even put a value, and this will give me a different weight. So this is really nice because without changing the code, without saving, without doing anything, you can just play around with any value that you want. Now you can either click here and change the value, or if I'm here, for example, if I press Shift Tab, I move back, and if I press Tab, I move forward. So I can press Shift Tab and change the 4 EMs to 8 EMs. Then I press Tab, move forward, I don't know, 400 or 800, whatever works. Then Shift Tab to go back, and then let's make it smaller. I don't know. So Shift Tab and Tab are forward and backward moves inside this, which are really, really useful. And then you can, of course, just click around and then change this to something different. You can change, of course, both the CSS property name and the value. If I make this, let's say, color, and press Tab to move here, I have to pick a color, and now it becomes red. Really important is that if you use some CSS property like color with an invalid value, so if, for example, instead of a color name, I put, I don't know, pixels in here, the DevTools shows you this warning icon, and it says invalid property value. So when you hover over it for a few seconds, it will say there's something wrong with the value that you just entered. So you know that you didn't put the correct color value. And this is, it has this strike-through syntax or form. This means basically that what you put on the value field, it's invalid. It's not there. The browser will disregard this. The good thing about the HTML, or maybe the bad thing, depends on how you see it, is that when there's something wrong with your HTML code or CSS code, the browser doesn't break, doesn't throw an error, doesn't stop displaying things. So it does what it knows best and tries to for example, like bypass an invalid value. So in contrast to programming language, it will not break. It will say, okay, I see an invalid value. I will just skip it. I will disregard it. So it's not breaking the page. You still see the heading, and the color is just not used. So that's maybe a good thing, because even if you do a mistake, the browser will just ignore the mistake and will it will be as if this was not there. But through the DevTools, you can see all sorts of like really useful information, like this is invalid, and there's a warning. So a really powerful tool. And let's say I can put the orange here. Feel free to stop me at any time. So we have these like these dynamic values. Important thing is that while working in the DevTools, all the work that you do is not saved on your source code. This is something that you try. This is for you to try things out. And then if you refresh, all the changes will be gone. Okay. So if I refresh, I will reload the source code from the server, and everything would be just like the source code intended to. So all the things here are just temporary things that you can try out, which means that if you really like this setting, if you really like the Indian red and the font size to be 6 EMs, one thing you can do is that you can select, copy, and then go to your source code and paste them and save them. So I can go here and I can say paste, and now I save, I reload, and it's going to be there. So keep this in mind. One tip that I can give you is don't do many changes here, like I don't know, try things out in many elements or in many CSS properties, because if you accidentally reload, or if you close the tab, or if you close the browser, or if you, I don't know, hit a button that will reload the page, you will lose all the changes and the edits that you are making. So focus on one particular element, try things out. If you like it, go back to your code, save, copy, paste, save, and have them in here in your code. I mean, for to persist. So really cool. It gives you complete freedom, as you can see, over any page. So you can open up, I don't know, whatever web page, and then you can go in here, you can inspect, and you can let's say make the world a better place by deleting the things that you don't really want to see, or you can change things here. And let's see, I can change the color to white, and it's gone. So you can try things out, and of course you can also see what other people are doing in other web pages. So for example, I really like this thing here, like this icon. I can inspect, and I can see, okay, how are they displaying this thing here. um, and you can find things from other pages. So that's a cool thing. Refresh, lose everything, of course. Now, the thing that I want you also to note in here is that this element dot style. Let me select this element, or let me select like a div. Let me select something that's also found in many places in the page. So I find the p tag. Okay, there is this paragraph here. Now, if I select this p tag and I go in here and I say, let's say background, I don't know, green, yellow. So if I change this, you will see that the change affects only this selected paragraph tag. It doesn't change anything else on the page, even other paragraph elements. Because this element.style is a way to change things, to try things out, to try CSS styles only for that particular selected element. Okay. Now, what if you wanted to see whether a background of color green yellow would look nice in all the paragraphs? So, for example, what would your page look like if this paragraph and this paragraph and this paragraph and this paragraph, you know, had this, let's say, green yellow background? So in this case, you don't want to target just this particular element, the selected. You want to have a P selector. You want to use the CSS P selector to target all the P elements and apply some styling. So if you want to try things out through the DevTools for all the P elements or for any CSS selector for that matter, you will go to this icon which says new style rule. So you click this and it will automatically pick the best selector, best CSS selector based on your selected element. So it says that you just selected a P tag and it uses the P selector, which means that this selector will apply whatever CSS rules you use in all the P. So you can create, I can press tab here to go inside, or I can just click. And now if I say background green yellow, you will see that all of the paragraphs in my page contain this background, not just this selected. So this one allows you to create a CSS selector, a specific CSS selector, apply some styles and see how this CSS selector affects your overall styling in the page. Let me try something out. We have some paragraphs. We have an H4. I'm trying to find some elements that are, can be found more than once. Okay, I will try the divs. So if I want to apply a style for all the divs in my page, I can go here. I can say div, or I can even type something here. I want all the H1s. I want all the anchor tags. I want all the li elements. So you can also edit. You can type here, but I will use the div, the automatically selected div, and then I would say let's add some border. Press tab, and then I don't know, apply a border and some padding. I'm pressing tab to move from one CSS rule to another, and then tab one REM, and I have this styling. So you can use this tool to test things out. Remember, these changes will be lost once I refresh the page. So you try things out. Maybe, I don't know, add some more styling into it, and then if you're good with this, you just copy this. You go to your code. Remember to right-click and format document whenever you paste code to just make your code cleaner and more readable. So now I have this, I save, and I go back and try things out in other parts of the screen. So click element style for a specific selected element. Only this element will be affected. You can pick this one to actually target all the H1s, H1 element in the page, or all the P tags, or all the divs, and so forth. And you're not just restricted to like the HTML element selector. You can also target by a class name. If there's a class inside your page, you can use the class selector with the dot. You can use the ID selector and then target an element of some ID, or any CSS selector for that matter. So find all the divs that contain P tags as a descendant selector, and then you can write your style here. Now, if I use a selector like, let's say I try to target an element that is not here on my page. So I use an ID, let's say user, and I say color red, background, uh, whatever, and font size 10 EMs. Now, if I create a selector to find an element with the ID user and apply color red, background beige, and font size 10 EMs, you will see that this section is grayed out. It's not as highlighted, it's not as bright as these sections. This is another really cool feature of the DevTools. This indicates that what I'm trying to select and what I'm trying to find in my page and apply some some colors, some styles doesn't exist. So when you see this grayed out, it means that you're probably using the wrong selector or you're trying to style something that is it's just not there. So either pick a different selector. You will see if I select something that is in the page. So if I turn this into a div, it immediately turns into this bright, normal, let's say, color. So it's affecting all the divs, of course. And if I want to also temporarily uncheck some of this style, I can delete this. Okay, this is too big for me. So I will delete and I press tab. And I can also go here, press delete, press tab to just move. That's one way that you can remove a style that or a CSS rule that you just didn't work out. Or if you already have this color, let's say orange. No, this is, let's put a gray, and font size was or font family. Let's make it sans serif. So if you don't just want to delete this element, but you just want to get a quick before after view, like just see how the page looks with, let's say, color gray or color black, which is the default, you can just uncheck. So you don't need to delete, just uncheck. The strike through once again shows you that this is not applied. You disable this, so no div is going to get a color gray, but you can check it, or uncheck this, and you can see what the page look like. If you like it, you can copy and paste it in your code, or you can just disregard and delete it. But this check uncheck is also a nice way to try things out without deleting this information that you might want to try once again. So these check marks are really useful, and you can find them also in in the rest of the styles. You can see that if I try to find these check marks in the user agent style sheet, in the default styling, they're not there. I cannot uncheck the default browser styling. The only thing that I can do is to override this by going here, for example, and if I want to override the table, I will create a table and override, let's say, if I want to override like the, let's say, the border collapse, I will say border collapse, and then, sorry, border collapse, I don't know, separate, not collapse, something like that. And now you will see that it's grayed out. So for some reason, this the DevTools says that there's something going on. This is not applied, even though I can see that there's some change when I uncheck it. So I have to dive deep and see why this looks grayed out. There's something I'm missing here. I'm not really sure what I should change. So a little bit of googling here to see why this turns out to be gray in this case. So all these indicators, like the grayed out areas, the strike through, the warning signs, like if I put red here, all these are really, really powerful, useful indicators from the DevTools to actually find what's wrong with your code and what's kind of like valid code or what's invalid and so forth. Let me refresh. Okay, so let me see. I will try some more things with the styling here. So let me try the element style once again. So I will pick a color. Let me put, I don't know. As you can see, I see all the available CSS colors, and that's really nice because I can see the options. I can also use the hexadecimal thing to have even more. Let me put, this is the, and then let me put some border, bottom, 2 pixels, solid gray. And you can do whatever you want. Font, family, sans serif. And as you can see, I move around really fast because I use the tab and the shift tab to quickly move through the CSS rules here. So tab and shift tab, it's going to be very, very useful to you. And I can type things out, and I can start typing, padding. You can see the options. You can quickly select. So it helps you pick the things that exist, the CSS rules that are valid. And if you do something like, I don't know, Costas, you will not get an auto suggestion. That there's no such property. So it's really useful. And some of the things that you will see in here, these are really helpful, is that most of these values in here, let me add a size just to make this more clear. So this is 2 EMs by default. So let me stick with that. Is that most of the times, most of the values that you see in here, like the color, the size, and some other things, let's say the background color, well, still the color, but yes, let me put this one. These are values that you can type, but you can very easily change without having to Google for a particular color or find a value or type the value. For example, the colors are dynamic little widgets that you can switch. If you hover over a value, you will see there's a small description label below. You cannot see it right now, but it says this will open the color picker. So if I click this, it will open up a color picker, so I can try things out, and you can see the color changes and on the border. So if I go here, I can try things out. You can see the titles. It's a really powerful tool, and things look good. Things doesn't look good with a light color. So most of these values have some sort of dynamic, let's say, a feature. So you can click and you can open up the color picker. And for example, I can also pick a color from another part of the page. So if let's say, if I like the title for the color for the title, and I want to apply it to, let's say, this element, I can select this. I can say color whatever. I will open up the color picker, and this eyedropper tool allows me to pick a color. So instead of trying a color in here, I can go in here and I can find some color that I really like on my page or is used in some other place, and I can select it. So I can click, and it automatically picks the color from somewhere in my page. You can even pick a color from a photograph. So if I had an image in here, I could select a color from an image pixel, which is really powerful. So let me go back here. So try to hover over these elements and see whether you can try more things. This is dynamic. You can type and you can change things, but it gives you also the ability to click on this little box and try things out. It says also shift click to change the color format. So if I want to switch from, let's say, the name, so if I want to switch from red to actually see the hexadecimal format or the HSL, there's so many formats in the colors, I can shift click and I can see the same color, the red, in hexadecimal, in RGB, red, green, blue, HSL, and all these other things that I have no idea. about so really really powerful features that you can find if you hover over. So color, it's really nice, it's really handy, and also the value share. For example, if I click here on the two, now you can see it's kind of like focused mode. It's editable, so I can either start typing and say 4 EMs, or now I'm going to switch to the arrow keys. So in my keyboard, I'm going to press the up arrow and I'm going to press the down arrow. So just by using my arrow keys on my keyboard, I can go up and down in increments of 1. So I can go from 4 to 5 if I press the up arrow and try things out, and go down 1 unit, or I can hold the shift key on my keyboard to go 10 points, 10 units. So from 24 to 34 to, this is very big, but in some cases you might. So shift key goes like grows or decreases by a factor of 10. By default, it's by a factor of 1. So 1 unit plus 1 unit minus, depending on whether you're pressing the up or the down arrow. And if you hold the Alt key on your keyboard, you're going to be using fractions. So I'm holding the Alt key on my keyboard, I'm pressing the down arrow. So I'm going from 3.6 to 3.5. So small decrements or increments, incremental changes to fine tune your styling. So as you can see, there's so many options in the DevTools. The keys and Shift or Alt to just move in increments of either tenths or fractions. And of course, you can, this works with most of the units. So even if I had like pixels, which is a little bit more, let's say, fine-grained than the relative units. So right now, just by pressing up and down, I go just 1 pixel up and down, more or less, and the change, as you can see, it's much smaller visually than if I were to use relative units. So I can press the up and down arrow keys. So there's so many like hidden features in the DevTools that really, really make your work with HTML and CSS really, really quick. Just don't forget to save your information or to like copy and paste, because now I found the perfect combination, let's say for my title. If I accidentally refresh, I will lose all of this information. So be careful. Don't just stay there for an hour trying things out, applying CSS, and forgetting to copy your code, or at least copying and pasting it somewhere so that you can keep it for later, because you will lose all this information. Quick note, okay, I'm not going to go through this now, but there is a way that you can make these changes, like open up the DevTools dynamically, change things around, do whatever you want, and these changes will persist, will be automatically saved in your code. So there is an option in most of the browsers to actually open up the DevTools, change things here, and these changes will be automatically reflected or saved on your code. So you can play through the DevTools and have these things, automatically appear in your code, in your actual files, by configuring the browser to do so. So there's also this option to make the DevTools persist your changes and automatically affect or update your files. In some cases, this is really handy. This is really useful. Personally, I think it's a little bit dangerous. I try to keep the DevTools only for experiments, so I don't want these changes to persist or to be transferred on my actual source code, because this can get really tricky. I try to use the DevTools as it is in default mode, try things out, refresh, forget about all the changes, and I copy and paste all these things while I'm working. There's also another feature that can let you see what you changed from the original source code. So you can actually see what you changed through your experimentation, and you can find this in another panel. I'm not going to go into that at this point, but there are many options for working with the styling dynamically and then keeping in some way, or getting the changes that you made and moving it over to your original source code. Um, so many CSS things that you can try out and play around. Like I would go and click and then or hover and see what options are displayed and what I can do. When I hover over the pixels, I don't get something. Let me focus and see. Yeah, okay. So you can see if I click on the units, you cannot see the text, but it says increment, decrement with mouse wheel or up and down arrow keys, and it also shows me the options that I have. If I have the command or control, I can move around in increments of 100. So if I press, oops, no, okay, command, what was it? I can go 100 pixels up and down. So let me just hover one more. Okay, so it shows you all the shortcuts. So there's all these hidden features can be displayed. You can find out about them by just focusing or hovering over some of these things and see whether there's some feature, some cool feature that you can try out. So all the information that I need about changing this particular value is right there in this label that you cannot probably see at this point, but if you open it up on your browser, you can see these things. And for example, in here, let me see. If I focus, there's nothing happening when I click on the sans serif. So this probably just requires me to manually type some kind of like a font family. There's no up or down arrow key or some shortcut. So I only have to say, serif or sans serif, or maybe use like a specific font family like Arial and so forth. And don't forget, just you can press tab to quickly move around through this shift tab for backwards and a tab to go forwards. Really, really useful shortcut. Okay, there's still more options. Just going through the basics, which is what we use, I would say, most of the times. I will go back into this main elements panel. So I show you how you can pick elements and you can change the style or you can delete them. Now, really, really cool feature is that you can pick an element, and let's pick this paragraph. And while you have it selected, you can press the left mouse button. So click and hold the left mouse button while you have this selected, and you can move it around in your code. So if I want to move this paragraph at the top, I can just hold and drag, and I will move it right above the paragraph. So I can move it in here. You can see it changes. So let me add some style. Let's pick this one and some padding just to see it moving. So select, change the style, and then I can select it and move around. So I can move it here. I can keep my mouse button, of course, pressed. So, and then I can move it around and, pick other paragraphs or other elements. So you can also select all these elements and then move them around. I'm not sure why I see this. I think this is a bug. Let me try things out in here. So let me delete the navigation, and then, so let's see what happens if I try to move the about. So all these sections here are details elements. So if I want to move the about below the where do I start, I can select it. And okay, this is not a bug, this is something new. So it shows you, I think, the previous place, the previous position of the element. So you can move around, and you can see the about is now two levels below the original place. So now this is the original place, and then you can move it back here. Yeah, this is a new feature I didn't know about. Um, so move things around. Now there's a lot happening in here. And for all these features, for example, this thing that shows me how the positioning of the element was before I made this, I moved them around. For most of these settings, sorry, for most of these DevTools features, there's always some setting to turn it off, on, or maybe change its behavior. So I don't particularly like these lines where remind me where the elements were before I started moving around. I can probably Google and say how, do I turn this off? So I will just refresh to have everything go back to how it was in the first place. So grab and move them around to test things out. And some things that to conclude, to show you, is that another thing that you can do is, apart from moving or deleting elements, you can also affect their content. So if you have an HTML element that contains a simple text inside, you can, for example, there's a paragraph that says learning HTML. Now I can double click, and it automatically focuses on the content of this element, and I can start typing. I can either delete this, or I can say, okay, learning CSS. Now it is changed to learn in CSS. Or I can go to the heading, sorry, and I can double click. This automatically turns into like a kind of like a focused mode. So you can see like you're in edit mode, and then you can say welcome to HTML. I have to press enter to conclude my changes, to apply the changes. So I have to press enter or click elsewhere. So you can actually turn things around and change what you see on the page, but only temporarily. Of course, you're not changing the page, you're not changing the source code, and definitely you cannot change the source code on another website. Right now I'm on a remote, like on a website that it's not something that I can control, but I can change things around and see how it looks like. So double click and type whatever. And that's a quick way to select text content and change it. And if you want to actually affect the HTML, not just the text content, but also HTML. So for example, if I wanted this paragraph to contain like a strong tag, the strong tag is the one that makes the font a little bit bold. So if I wanted to add another HTML element in here, you will see that if I double click and I go here and I say, let me put a strong, like around the CSS. So if instead of just typing text, let me say learning JavaScript. So if I were to write HTML along with text and I press enter, you will see that this doesn't get converted into actual HTML. This is, first of all, I can see the HTML tag as text. I shouldn't be seeing this HTML tag like this. This is code. So first of all, I cannot, this doesn't turn into an HTML element. I get to see it as a text character, the less than, the greater than sign, the strong, so it's not what I want. And in here, you will see that this has a different highlight, different color from the other elements. You can see all the HTML elements have this blue color, but this has the same color with the text. So if you just double click and type HTML, it will not work. The browser or the DevTools will like use this or as a simple text. So it's just some characters that you use. They're not plain, like HTML. If you really want to affect the HTML, if you really want to write text and HTML, you will not have to double click. You will have to right click. So right now I'm right clicking on my mouse, and I will select edit as HTML. So if you want to also add some additional HTML elements, you use the edit as HTML. As you can see now, there's a different kind of view. These are the encoded, let's say, versions of the less than and greater than signs, so that we can distinguish between the actual HTML opening closing tags and these symbols. So in here, I will just, since I'm in HTML editing mode, I can type uh, something, and you will see here that the strong now has a different color. So while you're in HTML editing mode, you can type HTML. The color, the blue color, signifies that you are actually creating HTML. Now, if I press enter or I click somewhere outside the editing box, you will see now that I have just made my first HTML change inside the paragraph. So this is blue. This is not displayed as a string of characters on the screen. They just give this element a particular style. The strong is kind of like emphasizing the certain string on the page. So right click and edit as HTML if you really want to play around with HTML, or double click to just change a particular text content in one of these areas. Also, this will go away if I refresh. So make sure to like move your changes or your code around. Now, with CSS, it's kind of like easy. So you copy some things from here and you paste it in your CSS code. With HTML, like if you edit your page as an HTML, it's a little bit different. So let me just go. Let me find this. Let's find this paragraph. So if I had this paragraph in my source code, and I edit this and I say add a strong here, and add the I don't know what's the anyway, I will add the I tag here to make it look like the italic. So, and maybe add more elements. Now, if I want to copy this in my source code, if I really like this paragraph to look like this, and not just a simple text inside, but with a strong tag and with an I tag, you can not really, copy. I cannot really select. As you can see, it's possible to like select and highlight. So if you want to keep this section, the new section, what you want to do is, first of all, let me go to my source code. So if you had this paragraph learning HTML, blah, blah, blah. So this was the original code, and now it changed to this HTML. What you can do is you can right click on the P tag. This is the part that changed and you want to keep. So you can right click and you can select copy. And in here, you want to select copy outer HTML. So basically, this means that you copy this HTML structure, including the outer component, the outer element, the P. So everything that is included inside the P tag, along with the P, will be copied to the clipboard. So I can copy outer HTML. I can go to my code here, and I can either delete this, and if I press Control V or paste, this section that I just copied is moved in my source code. Click Save, and I keep the changes. So copy, right click once again, copy outer HTML to just copy this whole content and move it in your code as you play around. As you can see, there's so many options here. So there's other ways to copy things from the dynamic content and use it in some way. The cool thing about this feature is that not only you can play around with HTML, like write code, like use the DevTools as a code editor, because you can delete things, you can edit things, but you can go in some other page. So if you find something that looks, I don't know, nice in a page, let's say, okay, not sure, something like that, okay, but let's say I find a page that has this nice looking section. I select some element. Uh, I don't know, okay, it's not really much, but if I like this section, I can right click, copy outer HTML, and I can move it. I can try it out in my code. So I can go to my code, Control V to paste, and load it in my page, see how it looks, and so forth. Of course, I can see that there's a strange looking ID and a class. So probably there's some CSS involved. So I'm just copying the plain HTML. I also need to find out about the styling, which means I will have to take a look at like what the styling for this class is, and maybe copy some extra things. I won't go into this, but you can copy any HTML from any other page, or you can, if you click this, right click, copy outer HTML, you copy it in your clipboard, and what you can do is, instead of going to your source code, go straight into your DevTools and go, let's say, to the, for example, go here, go in edit mode, so edit HTML. It's a little bit difficult now, so I can press enter, and I will paste the content. So I copied an HTML from another page with copy outer HTML, paste it here, click outside, and now I see the code, and I can try it out. So you can even try things out, and you experiment straight into the DevTools from one page to another without having to go back to your source code, to your code editor, save and do stuff like this. So it's pretty powerful. Um, so as you can see, there's so many things that you can do. Uh, Literally, what happens is you spend most of your time inside the DevTools. When you're working as a front-end developer, you spend most of your time in the DevTools trying things out, checking for errors, experimenting with different styles or setups, move things around, delete things, modify things. You see something that you like, and then you go back and you update your code. Or you can even, this is something that happens a lot, when you record with a client. This is your client's website. They don't have to wait for you to deploy like a new version or try things out. You can go on a call with them, and you can say, okay, your client says, I would like a different color for my page. So you go on a quick call and you open up the DevTools and you say, okay, what color do you like to see? The client says, I would like to see a dark theme. You say, okay, let me pick the background, the body, and give it a background of black, and then make the color of the body white. I need also to apply some color for, I don't know, the paragraph. So you can play around with what we've learned. So white. So you can try things out instantly with the client being on board, and try things out, find something that looks nice to them, and then you can copy and paste the code, or you can take a screenshot and you can keep it as a reference and then work on that version. At this point, of course, it's really important, if you stay on a call with a client for quite a long time and you can change many things, you can accidentally refresh or close the window and you can lose all this information. So you have to be very, very careful with how you work. So that's the things that you can do. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, there's so many things that you can do. There's so many features and so many additional things that you can try out and modify in your page. The last thing I want to show, and then we conclude, is that apart from the HTML and the text, you can also change the HTML attributes. So the things that these key value pairs that you find in the opening tags. So if you want to change something in here, so if you want to change the value of this attribute, you can just double click and select something like justify, or you can even like maybe change this to, I don't know. Okay, so you can double click also on the attribute values and change them. And if you double click right here on the opening tag, not inside the content, double clicking inside the content will allow you to edit the text content. But if you double click on the opening tag, you can start typing, maybe class, fancy, align, I don't know, center, and press enter. So you can also edit the HTML attributes directly through the DevTools. And you can also remove them. So if I believe I can double click, delete, and I have to, I think, select everything. So try things out. It's really, really quick. It's instant. You can see the page update instantly. It's really fast, really quick, and you can try things out without going back between the code editor and the browser, which is really handy. So while I'm walking you through this, you see that I'm constantly inside the DevTools. I never went back to the code editor. I went only when I copied and pasted some of the changes that I kept. So that's like some of the basic features and abilities and capabilities of the DevTools, and specifically the Elements panel. So we usually stay in here and move around and play around and work with HTML and CSS. But there are also other tabs that you can use for JavaScript, for like detecting network errors or things with the speed of your page and stuff. But this is when you want to stay on what you see on the page and change the structure, the content, or the styling. And of course, feel free to explore more features and share what you learn through our Slack forum. So that's it for today's presentation. You watch the video again, go through these settings, play around, change your web pages, open up. I would suggest that I would recommend that you open up any page out there and play around and change things, change the titles, change the colors, delete sections, edit the HTML, see what happens, explore the style and the content of different web pages, and see how these DevTools really give you a different dynamic view of the of our web pages.